evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. I'm your host, Paul Metza. I have an old friend of mine in the studio who has a dynamite new record out. Rich Mattson, a fellow Iron Ranger, was in town over the weekend with his lovely gal, Jermaine Gemberling, to play a show at the Turf Club for his new record called Totem. Rich and I lived right down the street from each other in Northeast Minneapolis for years. We didn't really know each other then, but I knew of Rich. He will tell you about his history, but he's been part of the Twin Cities rock and roll scene forever. Marvelous guitar player, songwriter, composer. He's also got a cool studio up in Sparta, Minnesota. We're going to talk about all of that, but without any further ado, Rich Mattson, good to see you, my brother.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Oh, well, it kind of came up quick. I had a cancellation, and I didn't quite know what to do.
Wow.
And you called me, and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, because we had talked about it before.
Yeah, we had talked, and you always, of course, all my northern friends have an open door policy here in the Wall of Power Radio Hour. So you called, and it worked out great. And, so, and of course, always great to see you, too.
We're actually in town for more than just one night, and, we're here. We came down Friday, and we're here till Tuesday.
Are you? So let's talk first about you played what, Friday at the Turf Club?
Yep.
With the North Stars.
Yep.
And that's your four-piece. Who is in that? How many guys in that quartet?
Well, it's three guys and one gal.
But anyway, that was Paul Desmond, the alto saxophonist for Dave Brubeck. That was the name of his autobiography. How many guys are in this quartet? But anyway, so go ahead, tell us about the band.
It's myself. Jermaine Gemberling is the singer and acoustic guitar player. Her and I write songs together. We've got a great bass player in Kyle Westrick. He's originally from Duluth, but we hooked up with him when he lived in Ely. Jermaine lived in Ely for a while, and we all kind of got together, and it really gelled. And for a while, my nephew Curtis was playing drums with us.
I remember because we did a gig.
Yeah.
A Ranger party downtown, and I think he was playing drums with you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
he got a good job teaching. He was in college, and he got serious about his career, and so he took off, and I got Keely Lane on the drums.
Sure, I've heard of Keely.
And Keely and I played with Ole Yeller for probably about. We played together for a good 6 or 7 years with Ole Yeller. We toured the country together, and really, really good friends.
Now,
great drummer.
You really started, and correct me if I'm wrong, making a name for yourself with the Glenn Russells.
I moved to Minneapolis in '87, and at
just
the time,
a young man with a dream.
Yeah. At the time, I had a band called The Imports.
Okay.
And we were from the Iron Range. We were all based out of Eveleth. My classmates, my best friends, we all played together, and our dream was to move to the cities and be the next Beatles or whatever.
Why not?
Well, when I was little, I thought music came from outer space or something. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I was walking down the street and I heard this.
See, it's funny because in Virginia, we always think people from Eveleth came from outer space, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, so I was walking down the street and I heard this new wave bass line. This great music coming out of this kid's window. I go, what the hell are you listening to? Flamin' Oz. And I said, what? Flamin' Oz. They're from the cities. And it just blew my mind. I said, they're from the cities? They're from the cities. And I said, Bob, can you make me a tape of this? They said, sure. And it was one of the older kids, and they were all bullies. They'd all beat us up. But sure. I got to be friends with this guy. He made me a cassette of the Flamin' O's, and that was in about 81. And I just thought, wow, they make music. They can make records in the cities. So I kind of had that.
Like Oz, right?
I was like, well, geez, I gotta get down there. If we're going to get serious, we got to go to the cities. And then the replacements came out, and Husker Du, and you were down here, and I was just like, wow, we gotta get on with this. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of this place, and we gotta go make music in the cities.
Like the Animals do. We gotta get out of this place.
And of course, I had to wait until everybody graduated. Mm-hmm. I graduated in '85. Everybody was ready to go, like towards the end of '86, '87. We all moved down, and promptly broke up.
There goes that Beatles
the
dream.
old story, you know. Jimmy quit, Timmy got married, and,
Yeah.
you know. And then my brother moved down, and he and I started the Glenn Russells, and with the bass player whose name was Russell. And we were going to be a folk group.
Glenn, is this where it came from? Glenn Matson and Russell, the Glenn Russells?
Russell Burkham, yeah. Rich Mattson and the Glenn Russells.
I'm not
Try and
sure.
book a gig with that name. The what? But we spelt it differently, you know. Glenn Russells, Rustles.
Right. Well, now I know.
So we started off, it was supposed to be like an acoustic group, and that didn't last long. We had to get back to rock. And
It was kind of, you
kept
know,
turning up the volume and turning it up and turning it up.
was there kind of a, would you compare it to kind of the acoustic version of the Glenn Russells, kind of Uncle Tupelo-ish?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think Uncle Tupelo was probably getting started right around the same time.
Yeah, right.
88,
Mm-hmm.
89. So we did that for a while, and the guy that played keyboards in the imports, he moved to the cities too, and then he started playing piano and banjo and guitar, and he bought a fiddle too. He was going to start to play fiddle, but he said, I can't play that.
Right.
Jim Kennedy, real virtuoso. He's still around, and he plays around here too.
Yeah, right. Jim Kennedy. Now, he played, who did he play with down here? And they had a really popular band.
He
Keyboard player, right?
Yeah, keyboard player. Now he's playing country music, which is hilarious because he used to hate country music,
Right.
but he's doing
Pays the bills.
what's their band with Jenny Russ? They're called the Saddle Sores.
Okay.
And he does jazz gigs now, and he's all over the place.
Let me ask you, so the imports, where were you playing up on the range?
We were playing a lot of high school dances, stuff like that, and then we started getting into the bar scene. Back in those days,
Right.
they'd book you from Thursday through Saturday,
Right.
and we were kind of catching the tail end of it. The bar scene was really huge up there. It was, you know, like from
Virginia,
like
Minnesota.
early 80s and everything. There was 6 or 7 bars on Main Street that had music.
Right, and
they're all packed.
another 16 that didn't.
Yeah, yeah. So we were trying to get in on that.
The breaks were a lot of fun up there. You had your choice of a dozen different places to go and spend your 20 minutes.
Yeah. So we were trying to get in on that, and so we had a couple of those where we played 3 or 4 nights a week for 4 hours. And
Right.
like, wow, here we are.
That's a great way to get your chops together, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I have my guest, Rich Mattson. He's been recording for 35 years, right? 30 anyway.
Started out with a 4-track, and I went from there. And I think, 91 was when I got that multi-tracker, and I said, I'm going to have a recording studio.
Yeah.
It's all networking, and I got my friends' bands over, and I think I started at $12 an hour.
Yeah, and you used to have a little recording outfit set up in your garage when we lived on Washington.
Yeah.
You lived right down the street from me.
At first, it was in the basement of a house on Lake and Garfield. And then I moved up to Northeast, and I was in a basement on that house on Washington in Northeast. And then I wound up getting a house with a garage, and my friend Greg McAloon helped me build the studio in the garage. It was just this 2-stall garage that we converted into a recording studio.
Your neighbors love that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rich, it's
The
so...
cops only came one time.
Oh, right. I hope you taped it like that Replacements record.
Oh, man.
Right?
We should have.
So we're going to be playing several cuts off Rich Mattson, the North Star's new record called Totem. Rich and I drove out here this afternoon before we started taping the show. It really, really sounds great. It's so what number is this? Because you've got several recording projects out under a variety of names.
Well, I think we're up to the 30s now. It's like
Wow.
31, 32. That's including some side projects and some Then I don't know. There's probably some that I'm not even counting that I played guitar on or played bass on.
Right.
I'll play bass on sessions and lead guitar or whatever anybody needs when they're coming up to the studio. I'll sit in on sessions. I love doing that. But as far as my own music, this is probably, I don't know, 25 or something. I don't know. I try to put out an album a year because it's like an audio diary. And I built the studio so I could record my own music and record other. I just love recording bands and hanging out with musicians and music people that just I don't know. I love it.
Rich Manson, we're going to listen to a track he wrote and recorded and played on called Safe in Our Zoo, and we will be back with Rich on the Wall of Power Radio Hour for the whole show tonight.
Colors that fade, painted for you. And we get walking into the night, safe in our zoo. Just me and you, safe in our zoo.
The number one source of the Twin Cities gay scene is all digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
Northeast Minneapolis is known for its creativity, and you'll know exactly why when you eat at Hazel's Northeast. Their creatively prepared comfort food will have you coming back week after week. Breakfasts like biscuits and gravy, granola pancakes, and brisket hash. For lunch, homemade soup and one of the best Reubens in town. And don't miss the daily risotto or Chef Ali's ever-changing dinner specials. Come on in. Bring the whole family. Hazel's Northeast delivers real good food. Family owned at 29th and Johnson in Minneapolis.
Hey, it's Brett from our new 4 p.m. show, the Minnesota Progressive Repartee, and I'd like to invite you to another repartee of sort. It's the 2019 Blue State Ball. This will actually be the fourth Blue State Ball I've attended, and I'm really looking forward to this year's. Why? Well, because after living through some tough times of the Donald Trump election and a Republican Congress, we finally turned the tide last November with the Blue Wave. So come celebrate all your hard work last year of door knocking and getting out the vote at the Blue State Ball on Saturday, March 2nd at the Blaisdell in Minneapolis. I'll be there along with my Minnesota Progressive Repartee co-hosts Doug Padgett and Hunter Haas. Matt McNeil, Ellie Krug, and Robert Pilot will be there, and so will our headliner, Tom Hartman. Plus, we're sure to add many more speakers and politicians in the coming weeks. As always, attire is blue jeans to ball gowns. So let's party at the Blue State Ball on Saturday, March 2nd at the Blaisdell and celebrate that blue wave. Tickets available now at am950radio.com. That's am950radio.com.
Total Dog Company is the destination dog food and gear store on the west side of the Twin Cities with easy access off of 169. We have a growing group of loyal customers and increasing numbers of referrals from dog professionals and dog parents because we carry quality products, give sound advice, and are easy to do business with. Total Dog Company keeps up on the latest developments in dog nutrition and products. Find us in New Hope off of 169 at 9432 36th Avenue North and at TotalDogCompany.com.
Hi, Matt McNeil for Rudy Luther Toyota. With the road trips we took in December, we're glad we took them in our Toyota Sienna. Whether they're family, friends, or get-togethers, the Sienna was always the most comfortable way to drive. Plenty of room for all the stuff we needed to take with us, the safety and reliability you get with a Sienna, the extras which make road trips easy, and the room to stretch on out. Rudy Luther Toyota Siennas are the most fun, safe, and reliable vehicles we've ever driven. Test drive one yourself at Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Yeah, he don't come around here swaggering strut. He's lost in yesterday. Oh yeah. Easy rider, he doesn't live no more. Easy rider, he comes from a time when Wild West was unexplored and a young man was free.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. I'm your host, Paul Metza. My guest in the studio all night tonight on the show, an old friend of mine and one of my favorite musicians from not only the Iron Range, but he was one of my favorite musicians when he lived in the Twin Cities for years, Mr. Rich Matson. Rich, that tune, Easy Rider, tell us what was that all about off your new record, Totem?
Easy Rider is kind of a nostalgic tune about, well, one of my favorite movies from my 20s, my wild and roaring 20s, was Easy Rider, the movie, of course, with Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson. And the whole movie kind of represents this moment in time and the history of America, you know, that whole era.
67.
That's just, it fascinates me. I just love that whole era of music. The hippies in those days and the styles and just the way people, you know, there was so much hope in the air and so much, and the song
and
is
a lot of sideburns like you're rocking right now.
I shaved them off, but they just creep back. They just crawl down my face.
You know what? You'll appreciate this story, Rich. I went to 67, so I went 12 years old, and so I don't even think there was. I can't remember if there was ratings back then, but you definitely couldn't be a 12-year-old to go see Easy Rider, and it was playing down at the Mako Theater.
Oh, wow.
So my mom and dad took me, and the place was packed, and so I was sitting there with my buddy, Chuck Christensen, sitting in front of my mom and dad, watching Easy Rider, and things got a little crazy during the LSD hallucinogenic scenes when they went skinny dipping.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But God bless my mom and dad. They didn't bring it up on the car ride home. So, when did you start writing songs for this record? Are you always writing songs?
Yeah, I guess I am always writing songs. There's something that happens where I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just have this melody in my head, and I wish I could. I'm hoping to someday have the wherewithal to wake up like that and just start playing guitar and writing the song.
Right.
But usually I'll forget it by the time I'm out of bed. But I'll have a little melody, and the more that happens, the more I'm like, I gotta start. I gotta sit down and start making music. And sometimes they'll come in like 3 or 4 songs at a time. I'll sit in that control room at the studio and I'll just pick up the guitar and just. I'll start with playing somebody else's song. I'll just start playing, and then I'll play some other stuff, and then I'll play a little thing and come up with a melody. Or else, I mean, they come in different ways. Sometimes I'll just be walking the dog, and I'll start singing a melody, and I'll keep repeating it. The key is to just keep repeating it until you get home, and you can play it, and then, you know, record it so you can remember it forever, because I'll forget them.
They
get away.
I just replayed a great interview I did with the late, great Willie Murphy in 2015. He brought his guitar along, and he played worldwide debut on the Wall of Power Radio Hour, this great song he wrote called Rootless Wanderer that came to him while he was walking his dog in the woods. So, you know, I get it. The dog I got now is too insane to even think about writing a song because I got to just hang on to it while he's walking me. But now we're doing kind of an experiment tonight. We've got we're on Facebook Live here for a little bit, and we had another great musician who owns a studio called Bright Spot, Robert Hillstrom, chimed in, and you said Robert was one of the first cats you met when you moved to town.
He was in this band called Third Stone. I remember we were playing like at the Espresso Royale in Dinkytown there.
That's right.
And that was with the Glenn Russells a long time ago.
Was that the Basement Club? Was that below a restaurant?
No, that was Valley Pub.
Okay.
We played there too. So we were playing there, and I remember we were walking around handing out flyers and posting flyers, and came across this guy Eric Miller. You remember him?
No, I don't.
Eric and this guy Ray. He goes by Ray West now, and they seem cool. I gave him a flyer, and they're like, "Hey, come to this party afterwards. We
Right.
play music too." And to talk about Easy Rider and the LSD scene. Well,
Right.
I didn't know that I didn't really know about the whole Grateful Dead
Thing.
phenomenon.
Yeah, the tribe.
Coming from the range, I didn't know that
Right.
existed. I thought that was the thing of the past. I go into this party, I'm just like, wow, this is fun. And Rob was there, and they had their band. They were called Third Stone.
Right.
And I started kind of hanging out with those guys a little and checking out their scene. And meanwhile, we got a new bass player, Greg McAloon, and he was from a whole different scene. He was hanging out with like the Baldies and the punkers and stuff.
Right.
So we had these parties in Uptown in our house that we rented. It was like 29th and Harriet, right by the railroad tracks there. And we just had this melting pot of people that would
Right.
show up. There were the Deadheads, there were the punkers, and I worked at a car wash up in Columbia Heights. And so all these metalheads would show up
Right,
from the
right.
suburbs.
Sure.
And then the Iron Rangers were there, and everybody's getting along and having a great time.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's a little bit of 1967 right
Yeah.
there in the mid to late 80s. It's funny because a couple of years ago, a musician was slagging Facebook for whatever reasons. And there's a lot of reasons to slag Facebook, because Zuckerberg is giving all our information to Dick Cheney, who's in his basement in Montana, who gives it to Vladimir Putin. But it saves a lot of time, because when you said putting up posters
Yeah.
and flyers, you
Yeah.
know, back in the day, Cats into the Stars, when we started playing in 1980, 81 down here, one guy would take 100 posters, hit Uptown,
Yeah.
Hennepin, Lindale. One guy would take the West Bank. The other guy would take Dinkytown in the middle of the winter, and you
Yeah.
put the posters up, and then you take your gloves off, and then the posters fall down and start to blow away. And you do this 75 to 100 times.
Oh, there were
in your
some
territory.
telephone poles in Uptown that were probably about 5 inches thick with posters,
Yeah.
just big burn. And I remember, I think I have a few pictures of some of those poles with the staples. They're just all staples.
I
from
would,
all the posters from over the years.
Yeah, I remember in my book, Blue Guitar Highway, I talked about that, because I used to live on Bridgewood right by Franklin Lindale, and I'd walk every day to the Egg and I for breakfast when I could afford it, and then I'd go to Orfolk Joke Fest. But those telephone poles, I said in my book, you telegraphed the city's sound.
Yeah.
You know, you could just see who's playing the Uptown, the Union,
Yeah.
the Caboose, you know.
Yeah, and well, without Facebook, I don't know how we'd get the word. I'd be 200 miles away from the city.
Right.
So I say what you want about it.
Yeah.
It's helping. It's helping me, and it's helping Jermaine, and it's helping.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil.
It's helping us get the word out. I have a mail list too, email list.
What's your website, Rich?
It's www.richmatsonmusic.com.
We'll be back with Rich on the whole show, the Wall of Power Radio Hour tonight. Appreciate you listening.
Finding the best foods the Twin Cities has to offer is easy with EatLocalMinnesota.com. Offering the top local and independently owned restaurants, EatLocalMinnesota.com has everything from burger joints to cocktails and fine dining. It's Greek to Me has been a family-owned Lynn Lake landmark since 1982. Under new ownership, the Janakis Karas family offers classically inspired modern Greek cuisine in a sublime space with gracious hospitality. Be sure to visit their charming bar and explore wines and specialty drinks from Greece. Find It's Greek to Me at 626 West Lake Street in Minneapolis or at itsgreektomemn.com. Crooner's Lounge and Supper Club invites you to check out their beautiful facilities for your next special occasion. Book your wedding reception, retirement party, business dinner, or other special event with confidence, knowing their expert staff and award-winning chef will make it a big hit with your guests. Call today to get a quote, 763-571-9020.
We are given the gift of intuition on how to care for ourselves and our families. But too often we forsake that knowledge for the voice of authority. Green Tea Conversations is a radio show for people like you who are on a journey to take responsibility for their health and who want to play a more active role in their family's well-being. I'm your host, Candy Broffel, publisher of the Twin Cities edition of Natural Awakenings magazine, and I'm excited to bring green tea conversations into your home. Join me every Sunday at 10 a.m. as I interview local experts straight from the pages of Natural Awakenings who will share progressive ideas and the latest natural approaches in nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living in a fun and informative way. Podcasts of the show are available anytime at naturaltwincities.com, am950radio.com, on iTunes, or anywhere you get your podcasts. So grab a cup of tea and join the conversations on Sundays at 10 a.m. as we awaken to natural health.
Hi, this is Laura, and I want to tell you about my family's favorite thing. It's our wood stove. We bought it about 14 years ago from Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. And see, the wood stove has actually paid for itself because we can keep the main area that we live in toasty warm with this great moist heat. But more important than saving money, it has actually improved our lives. Having a fire simplifies life. It provides comfort. It sort of takes the chill out of winter.
I'm Peter Solak. In 1977, I started Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, and I experienced the simple joy of warming myself by a fire. I also realized that the place and the way we embrace fire has evolved in a diversity of forms and styles. So at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we have brought together the widest selection of our fireplace products and technical knowledge in the Twin Cities. Our mission is to use our knowledge to help you choose the design and function that is right for you and your home.
Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today and find the right fire for you.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Eric Nelson. Tonight, widespread fog with a low around 30. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high near 37 and the low around 23. Monday, the chilly weather returns with snow likely and temperatures falling as low as 1. If you needed a space heater or blankets these past couple days, that is a sign your home is not properly insulated. In fact, 80% of the homes in the Twin Cities area are not. But Green Home Doctor can help. Committed to keeping you warm and saving you money this winter. Check them out at greenhomedr.com.
All right, welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. I'm your host, Paul Metza. My guest for the whole show tonight, fellow Iron Ranger and rock and roller Rich Mattson. Rich, I remember we were talking somewhere a couple years ago, and it was really surprising. You grew up in Eveleth, Minnesota, the home place of hockey in the United States, and you never played hockey.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did?
Just a couple years, though.
You didn't do that?
And I was terrible.
Yeah, okay.
I think I scored two goals in 2 years.
What's a goal a year?
Yeah. I think they were both in the second year.
So you moved back to up to the range, not back to your hometown of Eveleth, but right outside in Sparta, Minnesota.
Yeah.
When was that, and what caused you to do that?
That was in 2005. And kind of never expected to wind up back there. When I moved away, I didn't want to look back. I'd never thought in a million years I'd be moving back to Eveleth. But things happened, and, my brother moved back up there. He was having trouble in the cities. He wound up moving back up north, and I'd get messages from my mom, and my dad passed away in 1990. My mom was by herself, and I'd get messages from her like, "Oh, I'm making your favorite chicken fried rice for supper," and I go, "Ma, when did you get the idea I was coming up there?"
Right.
All right, well, maybe I could come up, And anyway, I was up there on a beautiful summer day in August, and I just was going, I could live up here again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so gorgeous.
It really is.
And with the internet now, and,
Yeah.
maybe people would want to go to a recording retreat. And I decided to look on the listings and see for business properties, just see what's out there.
Sure.
Just what the heck. I'll just look at it.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And the first thing right on the top of the page was a little church in Sparta. And I scroll down, and I'm looking, and I go back, and I look again. A little church in Sparta. What the heck? I didn't know there's churches in Sparta. Well, I
God-fearing people up there
said,
on the Iron Range, Rich.
I just said, I got to go look at this place.
Right.
What the heck? I'll go look at it. I don't. It's nothing. I'll just go look. And I opened that door on that place when I met with the realtor. I opened the door, and I just went, wow, this
This is it.
perfect.
Right.
And I kept thinking about it. And I just went, well, I'll just apply for a loan and see if it comes through. And everything fell into place. And all of a sudden, I'm signing all these papers, and I'm doing it. And I spent that first night in that church, sleeping on the altar in a sleeping bag with my little yellow dog with me, and I'm just looking around going, what the hell did I just do?
Right.
And but it was a lot of work. Had to build a control room. Had to put a shower in the place.
Right.
Had a few remodeling projects to do.
Did you desanctify it?
You betcha.
There.
There were 18 pews in there, which I sold with the help of my mom on eBay, and that was kind of the startup money for the place, because I wasn't saving up for this big deal. It just kind of happened all of a sudden.
Right.
And I wound up there, and over the years, just kept making improvements, and people were interested, and I stay pretty busy with it.
Well, and the interesting thing about, I remember, when we were kids, we used to bicycle to Sparta. There was a great beach out there, if I remember.
That's all I ever knew of Sparta.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know about this neighborhood.
Right. And the neighborhood you're living in is kind of abandoned now.
Yeah,
right?
It's a ghost town.
Right. And so it's kind of really, I was up there. I've been up there a couple of times to visit you. We did a Wild Power Radio Hour show from your studio that sounded great. But it's like walking back in time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the structures that are there, even though they're empty, it's from another era.
Yeah.
It's like 30s or 40s, right?
I've always been pretty fascinated with that stuff. When I was a little kid, the house I grew up in had a grocery store attached to it, Pastudensics Grocery. My grandpa was a butcher, and he made the best Polish sausage in town, and people come from miles around for that. And so there was this grocery store that was just a storage space, and Leonidas was another location, ghost town. The grid was still back there. We'd walk around there. The Leonidas school was about to be torn down, so the kids would be running around in that elementary school in Leonidas, breaking windows and smashing stuff. And there was another, the Civic Hall or something was out in the woods, and we'd go look around in there. I was just, when I was a little kid, just running around in these abandoned buildings.
Right.
And here I am in this little town where there's all these abandoned houses. I don't know, there's something about it that I was just drawn to it, and it's a really weird place to live, but it's kind of cool.
Now, Sparta Sound, so how many projects have you recorded there? I know Dan Israel's done one or two up there, and who else has you worked with?
Oh, the White Iron Band, one of my faves. Dan, God.
The thing about those, they don't party enough.
Those guys.
It's like every one of them is Waylon Jennings.
Yeah. Oh, that's always a good time.
And Ely guys, right? I mean, that's kind of where they got it together.
That's where they started.
Although I think they're from down here, but they hooked up in Ely.
Yeah, they were. I think there was 3 or 4 of them that met up. They were going to Vermilion Community College to learn how to fly. They got the band together, White Iron. Oh, there's so many, and if I start naming them, I'm going to forget a whole bunch, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But
so. Does Sparta Sound, does your studio have another URL, or can people just go to Rich Mattson Music and if they're interested in going and checking out the studio?
Yeah, my website is kind of it's
a cool website. You do it yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I do too much myself, but so the website it's just a homepage.
Yeah.
And you can click on Sparta Sound, and it'll go to a Flickr page with pictures of the studio. And then there's a contact thing where you can get a hold of me. And then there's a Rich Mattson and North Stars link, and that goes straight to the Facebook page. And the discography is the most important one, because that lists all the albums and where you can get them.
It was kind of my dream to take my band Cats Under the Stars and go up there with Willie Murphy.
Oh, man.
I mean, that was like my dream. I wanted to make that happen, but of course now it's too late. But the Cats would like to come up. Tim O'Keefe, Pasternacki, Loma, and me. Spend 3 or 4 days and
that'd be great.
Do a music from Big Green. Is that what we call it? So, Rich Manson, so speaking of Ely, you got really lucky a few years ago, and you met a gal that had some roots in Ely. I don't know if that's where she's originally
From St. Paul originally.
but she ended up in Ely.
Yeah.
Jermaine Gemberling.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see you two together, and I've played with you and I've heard you guys play together as a duo, I've seen you with your band, I tell people, I said, that's the Johnny Cash and June Carter of the Iron Range. Truthfully, I mean that. So
Cool.
tell us about Jermaine. How did that happen?
Jermaine was well, I remember her from her band Smut. They were an all-girl punk rock band that played in the Entry a lot in the Uptown Bar, and I'd go and see them a lot. I didn't really talk to her back then, but I don't know, I was kind of scared of her.
Right.
But anyway, she moved away. She quit the band. And she moved up to Ely, and I knew that she was there. And when I moved up there, and
What was her connection to Ely? What drew her there?
Well, her and her husband at the time, they wanted to get out of town. I don't know what at first they were looking at like Stillwater or somewhere, or Duluth, or they wound up in Ely, and some other friends were up there. Grant Young from
Sure.
Soul Asylum moved up there. Al Schroeder was up there. It was this group of people moved up to Ely. They did it. They got out of town and moved to the country, and they were doing their thing. And she was writing songs, and she came in and she was recording with me, and gosh, we did 3 or 4 albums together before, and then eventually, we were both available, and we were just like, well, this is going to work, the two of us, and I just love her voice, and I love her songs, and
she's pretty cute too.
She sure is.
It's funny, speaking of Ely, it's the 1997, so I think it's the 22nd anniversary, almost to the day, when Tower, Minnesota, which is 15 miles away, broke the 100-year record for cold. I just so happened to be playing in Ely at the Yugoslav home that night, and it was 60 below.
Oh my God!
Without a wind chill.
Wow!
Without a wind chill.
I hear that's going to happen next week.
Wow. So, Rich Manson, my guest, he's got a great new record out called Totem. So when are your next, the show will air this weekend, February 2nd. Mm-hmm. So what do you got, some upcoming shows in the Twin Cities?
Well, there's going to be a Glenn Russell's reunion show on February 23rd. That's going to be crazy because we haven't played those songs in years. The North Stars will be back March, I believe it's the 15th at the Eagles Club. And then again in April, I think it's the 10th with the April Fools, their album release show at the Hook and Ladder.
Oh, did you do the record? Brian
No,
Drake?
I didn't. No.
Okay. I love Brian.
Yeah, great guy.
Good band.
Yeah.
It's amazing because I follow you on Facebook, and one weekend you're in Duluth, and next weekend you're in Grand Marais, then you're back up in the range, then you're doing some recording, then you're down in the cities. You're a busy guy.
I fill in the dates on the calendar and act accordingly.
Right.
And we play all over the state, and I try not to wear out any specific location. I don't want to play too much in one place.
Right.
And do a variety of projects. One guy we haven't talked about yet, my buddy Grant Johnson.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about Baby
our
Grant.
band, the Bitter Spills, our folk duo.
Yes, we have.
We don't play as much as we used to, but we always try to keep something on the calendar.
And when Grant gets up north of Hinckley and hangs with you cats, then you bump into the soul and juju master Dave Curry to do some fishing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We've become fishing buddies.
Yeah. Dave is he's a good harp player too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, really fun guy.
We are going to listen to a song that Jermaine Gemberling, Rich's partner, significant other, and inspiration and muse, wrote off the new record, Rich Manson and the North Stars, called Totem. The song by the lovely Jermaine is called Meant
Beautiful
to Be.
song.
Yeah.
Beautiful song.
By a beautiful girl.
want you to be my baby tonight. I want you to be my baby. I know this might seem kinda crazy, but you could probably save me tonight. All night in shining armor, you are my safe harbor. With you there's no storms, only calm tonight.
The number one source of the Twin Cities gay scene is All Digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
Hi, this is Ken Haglund, host of the Minnesota Hospice and Healthcare Show, your source for elder care and caregiver solutions, inviting you to listen to our live call-in show airing on Saturdays from noon to 1. Each week, we provide answers to important questions regarding elder care and caregiver issues to help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your best quality of life. Please join us this Saturday from noon to 1 for the Minnesota Hospice and Healthcare Show and learn more about us at minnesotahospice.com.
Enjoy a delicious home-cooked breakfast or lunch away from the kitchen at Milda's Cafe, now open 7 days a week. Milda's Cafe has been cooking up family favorites since 1964. Grab a coffee and sit down for a delicious Philly scramble, house-made rolls, or Denver omelet. Stop in for lunch where you'll find authentic Finnish pasties every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Open weekdays 6 to 3, weekends 8 to 2. Milda's Cafe on Glenwood Avenue, 4 blocks east of Penn.
Native Roots Radio is proud to announce we've added an extra hour.
Yeah, Chushke, 1 hour goes by too fast.
That's right, Uncle Curtis.
I'll have extra time to share important information about our secret animals.
And report national and native news from all over the country and Canada.
This new hour is sponsored by Robbins Kaplan, LLP, rewriting the odds for their clients for over 80 years.
We are awake.
The Blue Wave finally happened. Hey, it's Brett from the Minnesota Progressive Repartee, and I think it's time we have a repartee about all our hard work with the Blue State Ball on Saturday, March 2nd at the Blaisdell in Minneapolis. I'll be there along with my co-hosts Hunter and Doug, and so will Matt McNeil, Ellie Krug, and our headliner Tom Hartman, with more sure to be added. So let's celebrate the Blue Wave with the 2019 Blue State Ball. Again, that's Saturday, March 2nd at the Blaisdell in Minneapolis. Tickets at am950radio.com. That's am950radio.com.
Hello, humans. This is me, Ellie Krug, with Ellie 2.0 Radio on Monday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. Our show this week is about idealists who do remarkable things. I'll talk about Maurice Willows from the Red Cross, who helped save the 10,000 victims of the 1921 Tulsa race riots. The big interview will be with William Doherty of Better Angels, who envisioned a way to help Red and Blue America talk to each other. Ellie 2.0 Radio, engaging and real on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guest, Rich Matson. We just heard his tune, The Rockin' Used to It, off his record Totem. Just came out by his group, Rich Matson and the North Stars. Rich, tell us, what is... I've been kind of amazed every time I get back up to the Iron Range, which is not as much as I'd like to. There's really an interesting original music scene going on out there right now.
There is. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of those players and where they're playing.
Well, something happened, you know, It's always been cover bands here, cover bands there,
Right.
and they're all doing the same songs, kind of the same shtick, and people just there was this place called the 218 opened, and they started booking original music,
Right.
and I got involved with it, and we started this thing called IROMA, the Iron Range Original Music Association, because
It'd
with the
also be a
studio,
name for a pizza.
yeah, oh yeah,
Just giving you some ideas here if you're going to branch out, Rich.
I gotta write that down. So, so the freaks were starting to come out of the woodwork and come and record original stuff at the studio, and we started talking, and we were like, we got to start playing around at these, if we approach these club owners and just say, hey, we're doing something different, we want to put like 3 or 4 acts on a bill from 9 to midnight, and everybody plays 45 minutes, and they're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Right.
I mean, that's what they do down here. It's no big deal. But this was kind of a new thing, where it's all original music, and so we promote that it's original music, singer-songwriters, and it went over really well.
Yeah.
So more people started getting in on the act. And then there's this guy, Christopher David Hansen.
Great songwriter and singer.
Who won't do any covers.
Right.
And he's playing 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
All original.
Yeah.
And he's amassed like the biggest fan base I've ever seen up there. I mean, he fills the dance floor, and they're all dancing and boogieing to his original songs.
And he's also DJ now on WEOY.
He is, yeah.
Really good guy. And
great guy, yeah.
Love his little dog, Minnow.
Yeah.
It's about the size of a minnow, a little chihuahua.
So those guys got the scene going, we got the scene going, and we just keep doing it. And that 218, God bless them, they're kind of the hub for all of it. They kind
I'm very good friends with them. Yeah.
Yeah, they every week, Tuesdays and Fridays, they have live original music, and there's covers thrown in too for good measure.
And plus,
but it's not exclusively other people's stuff.
Right, and it's one of the first places, I think, in town that's kind of starting to feature exclusive, cool Minnesota brewed beers.
Yeah, it's all Minnesota brews and wood-fired pizza. And,
yeah, it's a very good.
There's other venues they'll do it too.
Right.
You approach them with an idea, and most places are like, yeah, if it brings people in here, we sell drinks. Hey.
Right.
We're all for it.
Now, I noticed
to get people out.
You and Jermaine, besides playing all the time, you also love the outdoors. Mm-hmm. And I just saw you took a trip where, the Grand Canyon or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, we try to take an annual trip somewhere. We'll pick a spot on the map, and we'll go for it and take 2 weeks and
but you're always
go
skiing
somewhere scenic.
Yeah, and then when you're always up north, you're skiing. I'm sure you do a little fishing in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of why we live up there.
Yeah.
It's just to enjoy the outdoors.
It's a very well balanced life you're leading, Rich Matz, and I applaud that. So you are going to see Neil Young tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about every time you do a cover band. You did a Buffalo Springfield thing, didn't you, at the Turf a while back?
A Neil Young tribute.
It was Neil Young. Okay, but you look like, I don't know if you were playing that White Gretsch, but you look like Neil Young 1967 in Buffalo Springfield.
I'm not trying to. I'll tell you though, in the early 80s, when I mean, growing up there,
right?
The way you get music, it's kind of funny. Like my first music was John Denver. I loved John Denver. Then suddenly, I wanted to get all this nasty stuff. I wanted nasty.
Right.
Give me Kiss. I got into Kiss, and then Van Halen. Oh, that's hard rock, and Ted Nugent even. I was getting into Ted Nugent. And then a friend of mine gave me a cassette tape. It said hard rock. I go, yeah. And it had the Stones and Robert Palmer and some Cars on there. And then I flipped the tape over and I put it on, and it's this acoustic song. Down, 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 down. This isn't hard rock.
Right.
It was the acoustic version of it. My Hey Hey.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, who is this guy? What a weird voice. And I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was talking to my cousin. He's like, "Oh yeah, Neil Young. That's Neil Young."
Right.
"Oh, you like this guy?" And he turned me on to Neil Young. And then I got Live Rust, and I put on that side 3. I'm like, "Geez, I think I can play guitar. I think I can play this stuff." So I played along with it. Powderfinger. That was probably one of my first songs. And Sugar Mountain.
Sure.
I'm playing along to it. I'm going, I can play guitar.
Ready? Well, Rich, I was doing a gig up at the basement of the Herring Lounge. I think there was a documentary on myself and Catching the Stars. I was playing at the Duluth Superior Film Festival. We were downstairs, and you were doing a Neil Young tribute with Alan Sparhawk from Low upstairs. You guys were really great, but really loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about working real quick. We got about 30 seconds left working with Sparhawk because I so love Low.
I was shooting my mouth off to him one night after a gig in Duluth, and I said, we should do a Neil Young tribute sometime. And he said, yeah, we should. I go, yeah, we're going to do that. And probably about 4 years later, some guy asked if we could play at the Twins Bar this Saturday. And I knew I couldn't get my band in there. Somebody was busy or something. I go, I'm gonna call Al Sparhawk and see if he wants to do that Neil Young tribute we were talking about way back. And he said, sure, I'll do it. And I called my brother, and he was available. He played drums, and Dale Coleman got on the bass, and we threw it together. It was like 2 days' notice, and I made a list of songs, and we went in there and we did it. And we had a blast. So we said, yeah, we'll do this once in a while.
Well, Rich Mattson, thanks for being on. When you see Sparhawk again, tell him I'd love to get him on the radio show.
Oh, yeah.
Do me a favor one more time. The first time you heard the Flamin' O's, that guy yelled out the window with that accent, and he said, what? And you said, what are you listening to? And he said,
Flamin' O's! They're from the cities.
Thanks, Rich. That's
You're
really
welcome.
good. Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This show was produced by Paul Metza, engineered by Brett Johnson, recorded at AM 950 Basement Studios in Eden Prairie, which is neither Eden nor a prairie. Follow me at paulmetza.com, where I'm playing every Thursday night at Sean's at 5 o'clock with Willie Walker. The Green Lantern in St. Paul, 229 East 6th Street, Wednesday night with Sonny Earl at 9 p.m. I'd like to thank Rich Mattson for being our guest. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.